Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/JQNA.
It's okay to be single. I don't have to force myself to find someone.
From what I remember, it was kind of apparent that this wasn't his first beer of the evening.
I've been all over the world a dozen times. I'm a paranormal investigator who hunts ghosts and things like that.
I guess that's a surprising experience.
Hello and welcome to JQNA Season 1, Episode 8, Surprise. I'm your host, Catherine. What surprises you about life in Japan? For some people, it's the fact that they have to take shoes off before going into the house, or maybe even that they might be expected to eat a salad with chopsticks. But those really aren't that surprising, at least in the grand scheme of things. Sure, Japan is different, but I'm interested in knowing what really surprises people. What is it that has people who move here going, wow, I did not expect that? In today's episode, I ask my guests to tell me about an experience that surprised them, or tell me something about life in Japan that surprises them. There are a lot of good stories here, and I really hope that you enjoy the episode. But first, I'm going to share my experience. When I moved to Japan, I really had no expectations whatsoever. I had known about Japan, and I had communicated back and forth with a pen pal in Japan for many years. But I just didn't have a whole lot that I expected. I wasn't a fan of anime, wasn't a fan of J-pop or manga or any of the things that people tend to get excited about when it comes to Japan. I just was a person who liked Japan and thought about moving there with my husband. So I did. And to be completely honest, my lack of expectations and my completely open approach to life in Japan didn't really give me much room for being surprised. There wasn't anything that took me off guard or made me go, whoa, because I looked at everything with just no expectations whatsoever. I mean, really, no expectations. So every single thing that I approached in my first 10 years, and even now, moving to another part of the country, it's really a completely different culture. And it's a whole different way of living, which is something I've had to adapt to over the past year. I look at everything without much expectation, and I just see it for what it is without comparing it to anything else, really. Because after 10 years, I have to be honest, you don't have much to compare it to. I have not been back to the United States in some time, and I can not relate to many things that happen in the US because I just don't go there and I don't have anything to compare it to anymore. The way things were 10 years ago are not the way they are now. So even sometimes talking to people, it can be hard to relate. I'll say, oh, well, this is how it was 10 years ago. Isn't that way now? And they'll go, no, it's not like that at all. And that's why this is so very different. So, it could be a little awkward. It could be a little strange, but no, there was nothing really that surprised me when I got here. And I think that, as I said, that's because I had no expectations, but the lack of expectation and the willingness to just be open has really made, at least in my opinion, my experience in Japan the positive experience that it has been. Don't get me wrong, there have been plenty of negative experiences along the way, but overall, it's been positive because I haven't expected anything of everyone. And when you're at rock bottom, there's nowhere to go except for up. So that's pretty much my experience as far as being surprised. I just wasn't. Of course, that's only my experience, and every one of my guests has a wonderful story to share with you, so let's get right to it. Today, the first guest on our podcast makes brief mention of a topic that may be considered inappropriate for some of our younger listeners. Although the episode is still what I would consider family-friendly, I did want to ensure that no listeners who are accompanied by young children are taken off guard. Thank you for your understanding and consideration.